Hello and welcome back. Today I have something a little different. If you saw by the title, I'm essentially just going to be showing off a couple of things, advertising at least one thing, and trying to find a reason to use the introduction that I recorded a couple months back. As you kind of saw by the thumbnail, I'm going to be showing off all the customs that I've made so far. Going all the way back to, again, a couple months ago. Starting with the smallest one I've ever made being the first one. When I was looking for that Indominus Rex blind bag, I didn't know what number it was, so I mistakenly thought an Albertosaurus was an Indominus Rex. Mainly for the little crest above the eyes. I ended up finding that and blue, because I didn't know which was which. Luckily, the next day I managed to find it after looking through a hole in the bag. By then, I think everyone already knows where to find it. Welcome. Anyways, I repainted this guy. He looks a little different from his initial repaint since I add these little spines on the back, as you can see. And the new crests on top, which was sculpted on recently after the release of Battle at Big Rock. Overall, happy with the look. It didn't just stop there. I decided to go and repaint a Carnotaurus, which I bought at the same time as the Indominus Rex, and doing the only paint job I thought was worthy of the Carnotaurus. One thing I'm mostly proud of is those eyes. Still in disbelief that I was actually able to get the eyes perfectly on the first try. This is still one of my favorite repaints I've done. Next up we go larger scale with 2 or 3 fur. It's a little fuzzy memory for me right now. The first one I did was taking the spitter, the purple Albertosaurus, which people just nicknamed Barney, and I decided to repaint to look like the Legacy collection. If you're on Collect Jurassic, I think you've seen this before. One of the best parts was the fact that the little paint on the underbelly doesn't chip away even when pressing. Still squirts because I did not jam the little sprayer full of paint, thank God. This was a must-have, or must-make for me, because this is one of my favorite Jurassic dinos. Do not regret making it, although I do wish the paint didn't chip as easily on the joints. That's something that I can't really prevent with these. Next one I made immediately afterwards was another canceled Jurassic Legacy, which got re-released as a repaint. I decided to repaint this guy to look like the male Raptor that we never got. Much better. I'm impressed at how close I got with the colors. It was mostly just eyeballing and making an estimate. Still jumps. Again, nothing's jammed. I'm surprised that the neck was fine with all the paint around it. I think I just did like a thin layering on it to make sure it didn't get too easily scratched. Got even the little minute detail of the red above the eyes. A little shadowing in the snout. And again the little faded yellowish tan. And not only did I decide to do that, this one not as impressive as the female. The only difference between this and the original is I just gave her dotted eyes instead of the traditional raptor eyes. Next up, going on the raptor craze I had, there's two more. I decided to repaint the Charlie mold to resemble the Kenner raptor. Funny enough, this was a couple, I think 2 to 3 days before I actually got the actual Kenner one I ordered. I think after I painted this. This was mainly just trying to figure out from the actual image instead of having it in hand. Still happy with the results. I think I just find it easier with these raptors over the jumping raptors, seeing how there's no hinge. If it just requires a little minimal movement, not going in and out, it's easier for me. Finishing off the raptor craze, I decided to attempt a little sculpting. I sold one of these on my Mercari store. This one I'm keeping is the Raptor, the concept raptor from the unreleased Jurassic Park 4. This one I put back in the package and it now sits on my wall with the other Savage Strike. Decided to write a little custom part for it. It is still the same blue packaging, but I didn't want to be bothered taking it out. Now going to a larger scale, going to the Roarvors. We have one of my favorites. Well, not my favorite, all-time favorite. That still goes to, I think, either Dilophosaurus or Raptor, male Raptor. But this is still, I think, a close second. Well, for movie stuff. Anyways, it's painted to look like the version from Jurassic Park. Started with a bluish gray for underneath, which I'm pretty sure you can see from the camera. You do still notice all the browning from when filming is done. There's a whole bunch of dirt thrown on, but if you were to clean her up, she would look very gray. Similar to how the Jurassic World trike looks, but with a lot more markings on the back. Not just a solid plain gray. Wanted to keep the black around the crest. I'm trying to remember if that was on the original or not, but I wanted to keep that from the Roarvor. Custom little. Trying to make it feasible, as if Mattel was to make this. Like what color the underbelly was done, that was with a much more watered down tan I had. That I'm pretty sure it was expired paint. I took a little break and then came back to painting. Decided to take the second Roarvor's Triceratops I had. I just had that sitting in the Jurassic Park 3 shelf. Decided to make it look like the Lost World because I find the first two movies, trikes, to look great. 3 you see very little, but from what the little scaling that they have. Not too impressed, it's just green with a bunch of stripes. If I ever really feel like it, or if Roarvors was on sale for the trike, I'd probably go for that. Actually, if I want to, I'd just go for the dual action. Then just say it's the 3 version. Anyways, I decided to paint the second one. I had to resemble, as said before, the Lost World, but more inspired by the art we see in the Lost World. Those little pamphlets they had. Or if you own the original Jurassic Park Ultimate Collection, or Collector's Edition, you remember that little scaling chart that they had? Scaling from Dilophosaurus, Raptor, Gallimimus, Trike, Tyrannosaurus, and Brachiosaurus. This was, I think, the same design that they had. Either that or it was something else. I remember seeing this most notably in my book that I had for a long time for the Lost World. And so I kind of just went from there. little striping on the tail, a lot more speckling on the actual legs and back, a little bit on the shoulders. Try getting as close as possible. One thing I forgot to mention are those eyes. Little technique that I did for both. It'll be a waste of time to actually just grab that other one. Just take my word for it. Or if you follow me on Instagram, Jurassic Matthew, or Jurassic _ Matthew _, you would know. Next up comes for the non-conventional, or different from these movie versions. Let me slide these out because I need to make room for the bigger fish. There's always a bigger fish. One of my favorite, different from the traditional paint jobs. This was a much more Halloween themed. As for the next four, I decided to repaint my Albertosaurus to what I just donned Pumpkinhead. Because originally all this orange on the body wasn't there, it was just this face. I was trying to figure out if I should have made it go to the neck or to the back. Panning up just a little. This one I'm especially happy with, mainly for being I want to say an original design, but it's kind of just the Demon Carnotaurus, but with orange. A lot more orange, because it doesn't just stop on the back and the top of the actual skull. It'll expand to the actual face and legs. The initial thought when looking at this was to kind of give it the skeletal structure, but if I was to do so, I'd have to put a little orange on the arms, so I opted out on that. Overall, I just think it's a cool design. One of my favorite features that I decided to include was the fact that this thing glows in the dark, and if you, again, I'll just put my tag at the bottom, and you just find it on Instagram or something. This thing, where this guy glows in the dark, the eyes, little wound, the mouth, damage. One thing I don't like is the fact that the jaw is a little sticky, but hey, glows in the dark, that's one of my favorite features for any toy. My whole little idea for this was that random Albertosaurus fossil in a pumpkin patch, some toxic waste, random horror fiction story happens, and next thing you know, you have a mutant Albertosaurus going around terrorizing people. Really like that, and it remains one of my favorites. I did a poll on whether or not people would actually buy this if I was to make another one. Most positive for it. Next up, we have some that was, well, just a random Legacy Collection Rex that I had sitting on the shelf that I decided to repaint as something. I decided to go with an idea that I thought would work really well, is Burning Godzilla. So introducing, I'm going to have to pick up the camera for this, Burning T-Rex. Where it initially is, everything underneath is just everything cooled down, then the back where the normal spines would be is just all a nice bright orange. The eyes and mouth are bright. Well, kind of bright, given the illusion of being bright. Let me figure out where I can put this guy. We do at an angle. I want to try and clean these off for the final picture. Next up, we have one that was originally the last thing I posted, but I switched around because I wasn't too happy with the final design, so I redesigned it a little, or more or less tweaked. This one is available currently on Mercari. It is the Ceratosaurus Pennywise that I made a while ago. This one was made with the intention of being sold, and I made the promise that if this was sold, or if this got sold, I say within the 30 days of release, that I would make another one based off the 2017 design. One thing I wanted to keep was the look of the eyes, the ravenous eyes he has in the show or the miniseries. Basing everything off of the actual design. Main yellow for the body, the purple and I want to say turquoise for the striping. Same goes on the back, red on the back of the head, around the lips, red for the horn being the nose. And one thing I decided to do was a little red on the tip of the tail, but I'll just be off to the side. Next up, we have the most recent actual design that I did, or another horror-themed one. Decided to take my Suchomimus and paint it to resemble the creature from Black Lagoon from Monster Squad. Got a lot of good reviews on it. Don't know if I would actually release this or probably not. I would just stick to the Albertosaurus or Ceratosaurus. What really conflicted with painting this one. Granted, the paint I used was very chalky and does come off. I used the paint similar to what I did with my Godzilla months back. Still like it. I mean, personally, I probably would improve it a little more. Then next up, I did some stuff that I didn't bother posting, seeing how, well, I mean, it's already been done before, or this wouldn't really matter too much. I decided to, around the time of buying the Sarasu to paint like Pennywise, I bought two. Second one, I had the intention of repainting to look like the Sarasu that was already released, because I couldn't really find another one, and I don't feel like, well, originally I thought it was being sold for scalper prices. Turns out I was wrong, but good chance to repaint it. So I repainted this guy to resemble a lot more closely to the movie. Green eyes, dots, red stops here instead of going all the way down the tail. It originally did go down the tail, but I painted over it, and like this nice little mix of the two. A lot more striping all over the body. And by that I mean additional underbelly, and I don't know if it went all the way down the tail. I think it did. So that's that. And the final shot, I'll try repositioning him. Let me just get you out of the way. And to finish off my most recent customs, I decided to take the Carnotaurus that I bought for the Jurassic Park 3 shelf, and of course self-explanatory. Repainted to look like it did in Jurassic Park 3. Again, basing this off of the scaling, the same scaling as what I did for the Ceratosaurus and what I was describing the trike. That one, you remember that little pamphlet paper that opened out and had scaled everyone, all the dinosaurs, when you bought that Jurassic Park 3 DVD? I wish I still had that. And nothing too special. This has been done before. A lot better, more expertly by Ted Brothers. I mean, not bad for what I did myself. Give me a second to pause and just say a couple more things. Actually, just to realign these guys, give me a sec. Okay, forgot to mention this in the video. I'm just going to put in before the final thing. Some minor stuff, human figures that I made but didn't bother to put in the final thing. I mean, I guess just like the bonus human round. I decided to take an Alan Grant that I bought. Well, from a Mercari listing that was along with a couple other human figures, and repaint him to look like he does in Jurassic Park 3, and he now just sits right there with my other Jurassic stuff, or Jurassic Park 3 stuff. Same with up here. And the next thing was this Owen Grady. I decided to just paint all the tannish white that he has, the original, which I just have right there. And just paint all a dark blue. Why? Because we don't really have that good of an Owen figure that has his vest on without him being all torn up like he just dealt a battle with the Indoraptor. I want a nice clean one that I can have if I ever feel like recreating scenes from Fallen Kingdom. For example, I know we're getting a new Carnotaurus and an actual scene of Ceratops. Wouldn't mind having that scene recreated in the off chance. This guy right now sits in my Jurassic World shelf, because Fallen Kingdom shelf is kind of just random dinos I have, and then the one I didn't bother to put in the final video is this little guy. I just didn't like it that much. Anyways, back to the actual video, or final verdict. So that's my look at all the customs I've done so far in a nice little grouping. Really happy with most of the ones I've done. I might have wished I could improve upon them, but I really don't want to go back, because if I go back and try improving upon it, I'll just ruin it. If anything, it's just a good learning point to improve upon the next one, and then the next one, and so on and so on. As said before, the Pennywise ceratosaurus is still, I'm pretty sure by the time this recording is complete, is still available. I'll try putting the link below, but still haven't figured out how to do that with the Mercari app. I'll let you know when that does happen. Anyways, this has been Xeno World, and I hope to talk to you later.